on, right?
Yeah, it's amazing. It's
And
amazing he responds to people.
yeah,
Like, it's crazy.
he's like Becky. Like, honestly, that's why I think I'm so close with Stan and Becky,
Yeah.
because they're both super famous people. Like,
Yeah.
everyone knows who they are in the soccer world.
Yeah.
And both of them really make a time to make sure like each individual player like is cared about, thought about, looked at, and all that stuff, and kind of like transitioning that into like this camp shutout thing and the groups and how everyone's so nervous about what group you're in. Like, Stan truly drives around to every group. Like, and I've noticed that as a staff person and as someone that was a camper. And when I was in the lower groups compared to the higher groups, like, he really cares about everyone. And same thing with Becky. I was not a high ranked player. I got recruited to the University of Florida as not a high ranked player. Like, I played on a good team, but I wasn't really like a high ranked goalkeeper. So just like caring and looking at everyone could really like change your life, change your program, change your camp, change your school. So
I want, it's interesting that you said that, because I'm just thinking about like camp shutout right now, just our small little world here, and the groups thing, and just how I see kids like punching posts and stuff like that, because like got moved right or left or whatever. And like, it's like, I had one kid had such a great disposition about it, and I'm not going to say him out. I'm not going to call him out on blast right here, because I don't know if he wanted me to or not. But this morning at breakfast, and he's like, honestly, he's like, I don't care what group I'm in, as long as I'm getting good service and as long as I'm improving. And I was like, wow, you've already won life.
Yeah, right.
You've already won life. But it also makes you think about how many people strive, like, I need to be playing at this school, or I need to be playing at that school. I just think we're so transfer happy nowadays.
Yeah, the transfer portal's at like higher rates than it's ever been at before.
Yeah.
So
it's because the rules have changed.
Yeah, exactly.
Dude, like when I transferred, it was like 7 years before I could play soccer again. It was ridiculous.
Really?
It was like, I was like basically exiled. They're like, oh, you're transferring. They're like, well, you have to sit out. You have to lose this year of eligibility. It's like a punishment.
Yeah.
It's like, why am I being punished for leaving a school I don't want to be at? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
I think that the transfer rules like just need to be set in stone, and there needs to be situations where people are being able to be exempt, because they don't exempt any athletes that are in awful situations. And that's honestly, I think, unacceptable.
Completely. I mean, look at the situation that happened to Cal a few years ago.
Yeah.
You know, and like imagine if the rules hadn't changed and those players had just lost eligibility.
Yeah, exactly.
Then COVID happened. So, fortunately they got 17 years of eligibility. There's like 27-year-olds who are like rookies in the NWSL this year. It's crazy. All right. So let's talk about this a little bit here. I want to talk about just the simple fact that you were bringing up, like the connection with the coach, how important that is. And I think personally, if you're a coach and you come in as a staff, you need to not only establish yourself as a person, but as a coach, because like a lot of players, I think, they don't know what to expect from you because they've never worked with you before. And a lot of coaches come in and they're like, this is just not, they're not. So I need to, and everyone's so happy to bring in their own recruits. They bring in their own recruits. And obviously with goalkeeping, it's difficult because you're talking about like only one goalkeeper plays, So like, what advice do you give to like coaches out there that like go in there and think like, well, these aren't my goalkeepers, and they have that like that kind of stigma, so they're kind of like, I guess I'll deal with this until I can bring in my own.
Yeah. So like, are you saying like coaches that go into a new school and are coaching keepers that they didn't
recruit? Yeah.
Yeah. I think that it's as simple as you affect the goalkeeper's life.
Yeah.
Completely. The way you talk to them every day is remembered. The way that you talk to them when they're at the field, not at the field, check in on them, check in on their grades. Like literally a coach depicts a college athlete's life. And that needs to be so known to every student athlete, and more importantly, every parent. Because if you're a parent and you don't feel like your kid is safe in an environment, like if you have a bad gut feeling about it, it's worth looking into. Because I know so many college athletes that have had unfortunate situations that could have avoided them by simply looking into the situation more
Yeah.
or whatever. Like, I think it's different. Like if you're in my situation, right? I go to a school, a new coach comes in, right? But that just comes down to the athletic association doing a better job and looking into the coach better. And I think the University of Florida knows that. So that comes down to that. But
I think a big problem is, and I'll say this here on the air, live. I don't care because I'm not coaching college right now, but I think one of the biggest problems is the volunteer coach issue in NCAA, and like in regards to like the goalkeeper coach is always slapped with this volunteer, and they're like, you know what, we'll if you're going to grad school, we'll give you books, or like, hey, you can make money doing camps. It's like, all right. So you're basically getting people who like are willing to make that sacrifice to work at a college. And sometimes you're getting people that maybe aren't the highest of quality just because they can't afford somebody leaving the club game or leaving the pro game to do that,
Well, I don't know if you know, but that rule just changed.
Oh, it did. Okay.
Yes, it did. Now you can have 4 head, not head coaches,
Okay.
1 head coach, 3 assistant coaches in Division I women's soccer.
This is why I'm not in the college game anymore because I don't even know the rules.
I know. Yeah. Because somebody just got hired at the University of Florida. So.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's awesome because I just thought that was always just such a dumb rule, and a lot of the times what was happening is like a grad student was becoming the goalkeeper coach.
Yeah.
So it was like somebody who literally graduated a year before is like now doing session design for you. And like, not saying that person couldn't necessarily be qualified, but it's definitely
it's not fair to the coach either.
No,
though,
it's not.
To be quite honest, like no matter who it is, like you're putting in a lot of time and a lot of effort to these kids, and the head coach is most likely asking you to put in a lot of time and a lot of effort to these kids, design the set pieces, offensively, defensively, whatever it may be.
Yeah,
and it's just not fair. So I'm happy they changed that rule.
That's
proud of the NCAA for that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Congratulations to the NCAA. I don't know if I've ever said that before. I don't know if I've ever clapped it up for the NCAA. It's like clapping it up to Voldemort. It's an interesting experience.
I love that movie.
So let's talk about systems. Oh, we could just do that. Alex and I were going to be doing a podcast tomorrow. I think some other people are coming on too. We're going to be talking about superheroes, and we're going to do a goalkeeper draft.
Oh my god!
Do you want to be on that?
Yes,
show?
I would love to be on that. I love Marvel. I'm Spider-Man though.
Okay. We're gonna we're gonna do it. Basically, we're gonna do a goalkeeper draft. So I got to figure out what the rules are gonna be. It'll be fun. It'll be fun.
Yeah, I would love that. It'll
be fun. So if you guys are watching live right now, we're gonna do that tomorrow. That is Tuesday, July 25th. Is that right?
Yes. Tomorrow's my sister's 21st birthday.
Wow.
So I know the date tomorrow.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Now, is that an F for Florida or F for Fran?
This is an F for Fran.
Okay.
Yes. My mom gave me this for Christmas last year.
So it works. Let's talk about systems because when new coaches come in, systems change.
Yes. Like you mean like the way we play.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
No. Yeah. I mean, like that, I was assuming like when I said systems, I guess I should have been a little bit more specific about it. Systems of play in soccer, in the football. I know that's something that's really hard for a lot of goalkeepers.
Yeah.
Because they're like, well, now we're playing route 1. Why? Well, we were playing possession before. It's like, this coach just wants you to hoof the ball up.
Yeah, welcome to Francesca Ferracci's work.
Okay, let's talk about it then.
Yes, I would love to talk about this.
All right.
So, Becky, we played a lot out of the back. When I was recruited to Florida, my skill level is like shot stopping.
Speaking of playing outside of the back, what's up, dude? Can you hear me? Can you hear me, dude?
Yeah, I might be on. Yep, I can hear you.
Can you hear me now? You can hear me? Okay, cool. Just
Can you hear me?
Making sure. Yeah, I can hear you good. I can hear you well right there.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Go.
Yeah, you sound fantastic. We're about to. Are you still in Colorado?
Yeah. We leave tomorrow.
Oh, okay. So you guys leave the day of the game. Gotcha. As opposed to I guess it's a quick
go the opposite. Yeah, we're going.
Yeah, that makes
backwards in time too. So
yeah, exactly. That's true. And I mean, obviously, you guys were supposed to play this weekend, so things got changed just a little bit because we got 3 inches of rain and we don't know what to do with that. So very difficult for us.
It was meant to be a bit more than that, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, some areas got hit really hard, like where my sister lives in Palm Desert. Like they got, I don't know, like 10 inches of rain, and like their average yearly is like 5 inches total.
Right,
so like
right.
It's just flooded like a disaster over there. But we didn't get a direct hit in LA. So it kind of veered a little bit more east. So we just got kind of some of the outskirts of it, but we still got a good amount of rain. Like we still got like, I think it was like over here we got 5 or 6 inches in 24 hours, which is a lot for us.
Yeah,
like we don't.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Yeah, the city's not built for that. So, but
no, not at all.
No, and you wouldn't have wanted to play in that, to be honest with you.
No. I think it was just the concern was getting there, and then obviously not playing the game.
That would have, yeah.
It would have been
no one
tough.
needs to sit in LA in a hotel.
Nope.
All right, so Siska's going to be joining us in a few minutes, but we will get started at noon because, I know you got a lot going on right now, so I don't want to keep you too late here.
No,
so
good, mate. Yeah, always busy though. That's good.
Hey, that's a good thing though, right?
It is, yes.
Yeah. All right. Here we go. Let's get this going. Welcome to Inside the 18. I'm Michael Magid, live from Hollywood, California. With me momentarily will be 99 World Cup winner Saskia Weber. But we got somebody, who's just at the same level of a 99 World Cup winner. We have the one and only assistant coach for the Colorado Rapids, director of goalkeeping. You know him as Core Goalkeeping Academy as well, too. The one and only Sharpe, Chris Sharpe. What's up, dude?
Hey, buddy. How you doing?
I'm excited for this, man.
Same level as Saskia. That's not quite true, but I'll take it.
I mean, dude, you got a lot going on, and obviously in goalkeeping circles, people know you very, very well. At least here in the United States, I think you're one of kind of the people out there. A lot of people rely on for information to chat it about. And one of the things that Sharpe I've always loved about you is you're so open and honest and willing to give back to the community.
Yeah, look, I'm a big believer in helping. I think if we can develop goalkeeper coaches and which help obviously develop the young goalkeepers, it's huge. It only helps the country. And, I'm not a believer in, obviously there's certain things you want to keep in your back pocket, but I think if we can help educate, for us in the positions that we sit, we're a little bit fortunate. If we can help educate people, I think it's fantastic.
I think one of the things that it's funny what you said that in regards to like, there's a few things that we want to keep in our back pocket, but I think we're kind of very fortunate as goalkeeper coaches, as goalkeeping educators, that we can be a little bit more free with our content than let's say maybe some of the field coaches who might be concerned that tactically this might show some weaknesses or strengths of our team to opposition. Yeah,
I think, look, there's obviously many ways to do things as a goalkeeper coach, and methodologies and philosophies. Everyone's got different ideas and different opinions, but at the end of the day, keeping the ball at the back of the net is keeping the ball at the back of the net, whether it's catching something, parrying something. Obviously techniques and styles can differ here and there, but I don't think sharing technical aspects of goalkeeping training is something that we have to be concerned about, if I'm being honest with you. Obviously, sharing tactical information about the team you're playing for, the team that you're coaching for, is a little bit different, but sharing the technical side of things and trying to help people build their own philosophies and their own styles, I think is very important.
So let's talk a little bit about that, because, obviously you've been sharing not only with the Colorado Rapids, but you've been doing some work, with the U.S. men's national team and in U.S. soccer and everything like that. Why don't you talk a little bit about that experience? Because I think some people here might not be familiar that you've been doing some work with the U.S. soccer.
Yeah, a little bit lucky. Obviously, Anthony was the head coach there for the men's national team, and he asked me to come in and join a few things. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to go because we were still in season for the Gold Cup and the Nations League, which would have been great. But did the camp prior to that against Mexico, which was fantastic, very enjoyable. Obviously working with Sean, which I know really well and have for a long time, and then the two young boys, Roman and Drake from Cincy and Miami. Were fantastic to see those guys up close and get to know them and build a bit of a relationship with them. But I hope in the future we can continue moving forward. But it's been fun, and it's exciting, that's for sure.
I think, one of the cool things about that, is that obviously you get to share these experiences, not only in regards to your own goalkeeping community, your own goalkeeping unit here, but with others as well, too. And I know that when you go into a camp environment, it's not as much about learning as it is about maintaining or, identification. But Were there some moments where there were some teachable moments during those camps?
Yeah, very much so. I think we had 4 days, I think, on the pitch prior to the game. And obviously, everyone was coming off weekend games. All 3 of the guys had played. And Sean was playing the game against Mexico. So, it was a little bit geared towards him and what he needed prior to, that game. And, but I think that, anytime you're doing any kind of work, especially for the younger guys, there's very much teaching opportunities and teaching moments and thought processes and, just ways of training. And obviously it was both their first time in a camp, which was pretty big for them as well. And understanding the environment and, obviously there's nerves there for them as well. And they're trying to get that in check, so to speak. But yeah, I think any time that we can work and obviously share ideas and give them some thoughts. But like you say, in those environments, majority of the time, it is just, keeping them ticking over, keeping them fresh, keeping them sharp in preparation for what they're about to partake in the game.
Speaking of partaking in the game, the one and only Saskia Weber is going to be partaking in this game of this podcast now, as she joins us here from lovely Woodland Hills, California, going hardcore with the Angel City.
Yeah, I thought I'd change it up. Hey, Chris.
Hey, Sas, how you doing?
I'm good.
Good to see you.
We were just talking about how because Sharpe got some time with the men's national team this past year, working the camps and everything with the goalkeeping pool and everything, and he was talking about the fact that obviously it's about keeping those goalkeepers sharp, and obviously Saskia, this being in those environments, but there are teachable moments, and you don't want to detract from that just because you're trying to maintain or just identify goalkeepers, for the pool if you see something.
No, absolutely. I mean, there's always teachable moments no matter what level you're at. You're not just there to be a trainer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. I mean, and if somebody that's not a trainer, that's Chris Sharpe. That's for sure. I mean, you train goalkeeper. I mean, don't get me wrong, but I mean, as in you do a lot of coaching because you're not obviously just involved with the first team, but you're also doing a lot of the stuff at the grassroots level with the academy. Why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, look, I mean, obviously the MLS Next Pro, we got the Raptors 2 in there now, which I have full-time help, which is fantastic. And then Brandon, who does the MLS Next Pro, is also the academy goalkeeper coach along with myself. So, I think just for me, we have the youth club underneath that too, and that pipeline that comes from literally our U8 all the way through to the first team. In fact, we were just discussing this last week, but, we have a pretty secure pipeline from the youth club, the young kids, all the way through to the first team as far as the boys' side is concerned. And obviously the girls' side, we have the WPSL team that plays across the summer. So there is good moments for everybody on both sides, boys and girls. But yeah, just obviously when we get them in the academy, now it's U12, just trying to begin that process of getting them used to the environments that they're in and the expectations that we set of now really fending for yourself and not relying on mum and dad as much as they used to, and trying to grow them up a little bit. And we've got online school and they're in here full time from U16, and there's just a lot to process. And obviously now with the MLS Next rules changing and the homegrown rules changing, we'll be able to bring in players and goalkeepers from outside the state. Boys that are moving here on their own, away from their parents, which is fantastic, I think. But yeah, it's a really now just a holistic approach from top to bottom. And obviously my primary job is with the first team and the academy, but making sure that it's a smooth transition all the way through.
I mean, I think that's just so important in regards to like having that smooth transition. Saskia, obviously, you've been involved, environments, the collegiate environment, and then obviously at the youth environment, and obviously the professional environment and everything like that. And you even just, yourself, you've seen like in NWSL in regards to during the Challenge Cup recently, how important it is to be able to have that transition from first team goalkeeper to, a lack of a better term, a reserve goalkeeper, or a World Cup, a reserve goalkeeper, to be able to step in and play. Obviously there is no reserve league yet in NWSL, but it is kind of, the Challenge Cup is almost kind of that type of opportunity. You're on mute.
You want to set up that that system where that there is no major transition, that, like, I always say it's your 1.5, whatever you want to call it. But, you don't want a drop in level. You don't want a drop in philosophy or anything. And a lot of the, most of the goalkeeper coaches in the league have just prided themselves on the fact that they have such deep goalkeeping cores. And we've seen that in the Challenge Cup, especially. And when you look at like Angelina Anderson, let's say she was third for Angel City, stepped in the Portland game, and now look, she's being talked about by everybody. We have an expansion draft coming up, and she might get picked up by Bay or Utah or even the following year, and same with Brittany. So I think that, we've seen Dan Ball, we've seen everybody just pride themselves on that core, and there should never be a shift. There should never be so-and-so's coming in. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Absolutely. And Sharpe, feel free to step in anytime. Don't wait for me to ask you a question or anything like that. But I do want to ask you because, go ahead.
I agree.
Oh,
I do agree with Sasha. It doesn't matter if it's a 1, 2, or 3. I think. Yep.
Yeah.
You got me?
Yeah, I got you now.
Yep, cool. No, I just said I agree with Sasha. It doesn't matter if it's a 1, 2, or 3. You train them in the mold to step in at any point in time, whether it's injury or suspension or it's a red card in the game or whatever it looks like. Mm-hmm. That you as a coaching staff, you don't want to skip a beat. As a group, you don't want to skip a beat, and you have full confidence in whoever you're putting in. So, yeah, I agree 100%.
And I think one of the things that Sask brought up in regards to yourself, Chris, in regards to with Colorado Rapids, is that even if there's not a potential to advance with the first team right there, it is your job to develop these goalkeepers at the academy and at the Rapids too, to be able to move on to that next level, whether it's with the Rapids or not, because ultimately that only makes a player, if they advance on to another level and let's say they get game time, and then in the future you do need a goalkeeper, there's a bigger pool of goalkeepers that you've put an investment in that you could bring back.
Well, yeah, and
I think look.
Go ahead.
Go on, Sas. Go on. Go, Sas.
I think also we have to look at this as a business, and I hate to say that to people, but you have to look at it as a business, and what are those goalkeepers worth? If your second and third goalkeeper are so solid and good, and like I said, you have expansion drafts coming up, or even just a trade across the board, and you need a field player, and you got a great goalkeeper, like that's a commodity. So it behooves you to develop those keepers to the best of their ability. So either they're with you or you can move them on and get their worth.
I mean, we just saw that Sharpe just recently with New England Revolution. It looks like one of their goalkeepers is moving on to Chelsea right now. They've sold 2 goalkeepers in the last year, and that money can be funneled back into. So if you get a diamond in your academy and you can sell them on to Europe, that money could go back into your program.
100%. It's a catch-22. If you can find a diamond in the academy, you have, and you want to keep them. You have them all the way through at that point too. I think that for me, guys, I look at our core of young kids, and obviously right now we've got Adam Boudry at an 06. Abraham, obviously, our 2002 is a first-team goalkeeper. We've got Zach Campagnolo, who's the US U15 #1 as an 07. We've got Isaac Nemi, who's an 04 in college D1. Andrew Cordes is a 03 in college D1. Like the pool we have is very big, and you see it in the summer when they all come back and train now with the Rapids too. We have 6 or 7 goalkeepers in that group that are fantastic. And, you're waiting for one of them, 2 of them, 3 of them to sprout and spring and kind of grab hold of their opportunities, which fortunately for us, 2 or 3 of them have. But yeah, if you can produce them and sell them on and reinvest that back into the club, it's fantastic. Yeah. Or keep them if that's the club's philosophy, keep them on there and it's something you've produced from top to bottom. Goes to show that your work on the grass is working.
Yeah, and you have to look at it like you brought up a great point. Like you never know as a goalkeeper. Like look at Gotham and Smith. I mean, she just went down. You're coming into the final back end of the season where Gotham is in that running for playoff for everything, and now your second goalkeeper has got to start the rest of the season. I think she's out with. I don't want to speculate, but it was Achilles. So I think they have to be ready to go, period. This is the most important part of the season for Gotham. And now they're, technically their backup goalkeepers in, and there shouldn't be any sort of a hiccup or drop in level.
I mean, absolutely. I think, one of the things in regards to that is that, like, we never know what's going to happen with the season. We never know what the success rate's going to be, what the failure rate's going to be, whether, opportunities are going to come up for players to move on or et cetera. And we just need goalkeepers that are going to be able to step in, and whatever our journey is for that year are going to be right for that journey. And kind of speaking into that, I think there's a good transition intended in today's topic, which I think is a fantastic one, Sharpe, which is transitioning, to defending the goal. I know this is a conversation that a lot of people have been having lately in regards to handling possession to out of possession. Why don't you break down what you mean by this, maybe for some parents out there who don't understand what we're talking about?
Yeah, I think, look, it's something we've placed a massive emphasis on at the club, on the goalkeepers in general, from the curriculum for the young kids all the way through the first team. And it's just literally transition to defend the goal. In possession, out of possession, obviously every team plays differently. Every team has a different idea of building out from the back. And everything looks completely different, in my opinion, for different teams. But I think for us, it's, my idea behind it is trying to make these young goalkeepers and the pros as comfortable as they possibly can in positions that they are really uncomfortable in, and seeing repetition. And look, transition to goal happens, 2 or 3 passes, bang, you're gone. It could be a dribble off an opposition player and a shot from distance. It could be a one through ball through, a first time ball through. It could be anything. It could come from any, and you've got to deal with defenders in front of you, attackers in front of you. You've been sucked out of position if you're in possession, trying to give a supporting angle or whatever it is, and all of a sudden the ball gets turned over. You could be high, you could be too deep, you could be outside the frame of the goal in any moment. But I think a lot of the transition, in my opinion, comes when you are in possession of the ball, more so than it does when you are out of possession of the ball. Out of possession is usually a ball in behind or something like that, where it's a quick ball at the top or through the lines. But nowadays, with this idea and thought process of building out from the back is 90% of the game, that we end up as goalkeepers in positions that we don't want to be in, trying to support the group, support the person on the ball, trying to find the spare player, trying to find the number up scenario, trying to break the first line, whatever it looks like. And it just happens so quickly. So for me, it's just finding the moments in training, especially looking at opposition, that we feel, and areas we feel they will get into, that may become a problem for us as goalkeepers, whether it's between outside backs and centre backs, whether it's between centre backs if you're playing a back three, whether it's, in and around a 6, whatever it looks like. We have, in our mould, we have big athletic centre backs that like to block things and get their bodies in front of things. So a lot of deflections, especially in build out from goal kick, you find the centre backs end up close to you. So you're trying to deal with them as well. Find a little bit of depth and give you some time, or close the space down, whatever it looks like. But just trying to train those moments where they are super uncomfortable, can't see things, are pulled in positions that they don't want to be pulled in. And I'm also a big believer in some sort of a distribution action, whether it's to start with or finish with, just to pull them into those moments as well.
Yeah. I just love absolutely everything you were saying right there, and I think it's completely something that Susk and I, have talked about consistently. And Susk, I know, this is something that, we see in NWSL now, especially a lot of the times. And sometimes goalkeepers are blamed, for lack of a better term, unfairly, for actions that are unsuccessful, when based on the way that the team is playing and how they're asked to play, it's going to put them in uncomfortable areas, and things are going to happen, but you have to be willing to accept that.
Right, but you have to train it. And the thing is if you're the opposing team and that doing a high press and putting so-and-so under the goalkeeper under pressure on a back pass, 9 times out of 10, they're not going to make a successful distribution or next pass, then you're going to change your offense, and you're going to do that. And so, you want to go in with a team, with a goalkeeper that is confident in bad scenarios, under pressure, no matter what, because you don't want that to be a tactic of your opposition. You'd rather have them say, listen, if we keep high pressing Kaylin Sheridan, she's just going to keep breaking our line, and we're going to be, they're going to be in our defensive third in a minute. And so we've got to do a low block, and that's what you want. That means you're doing your job as a goalkeeper. But if you're constantly making mistake under pressure, under high pressure, then they're going to be down your throat the whole game.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a really solid point right there. And talking about that pressure type of thing here, Sharpe, why don't you kind of break down what's going on in this activity first?
Yeah, this was just an early part of the week where we didn't have a game. Obviously got my 4 goalkeepers in there, 2 young ones and my 2 experienced guys. But this is just a little, obviously the screen there you can see in the middle, the guys cannot see the ball. I pulled the ball far enough away where they cannot see the ball completely. So it's just a little ball in, obviously ask them to look over their shoulder, have a little pass out to centre back or 6, find a little bit of depth, post the pass. And I'm very big on honouring things. So obviously the ball comes in from me. The ball goes out to the opposing goalkeeper. But I'm very big on honouring it. So I don't want them coming. So you can see there, if you just freeze it now, Mike, you can just see now, I've just asked them to wait until the ball touches the foot of the goalkeeper they played the ball to before they turn back inside. And it's just being honest a little bit rather than just playing the ball and coming to the next action. And then, as you can see right here, Will's played the ball and Abe's got, he doesn't know. He's got no idea what the space is coming, what space it is. And it's just transfer of weight, make sure you're keeping nice and balanced, nice and low, and then coming into a tight angle shot from me. And again, obviously honouring the second ball, which is the one underneath the screen. And then coming in tight angle shot for me. And I like the tight angle shot for me doing it off these, what I call the cut-off cones, the half cones, because there's a tendency, like when we hit a half volley, as the ball hit on a bit of a higher trajectory, the goalkeepers want to come up in their stance in their body and pop up from hips and knees, which obviously kills the space around their feet or between their legs. So just trying to keep them nice and low and balanced, and it gives me a variety of obviously distribution as well off the top of the cones. But here we're just training a transition moment, literally centre backs to the screen in our ideal world, to just react what they can see, and the screen's at about 8 yards from the goal line, really.
I mean, I love this, and Suska, I don't know your thoughts right here, but I think this is so realistic to the game. This is going to be, especially if you're playing, tight spaces like this type of obstruction is going to happen consistently, and you're going to have to be able to make that transition very quickly.
No, and I love this, but I also love what Chris said in the sense of being honest. When you play that ball out wide to the other goalkeeper, let's say the 6 or whatever, like, be honest. Don't just play the ball and just go on to, don't do the drill, right? So when you see him play the ball out, he's waiting, seeing what happens, then he's going on, then he's resetting, then he's got the ball coming from behind the screen and everything. So it's those little things make a big difference, because that is real. That is the reality of it. You're not just doing the drill.
I think too, from this position, guys, is something that I spoke a little bit about recently, like the shot that comes in from me on the second angle too. I've tried to position, I'll just freeze it, Mikey, when it gets to me. Keep going. Okay. So now I've tried to position the guy that's hit the ball onto the screen and the person who's received the pass in areas that they may have to parry between, if that makes sense as well. So like, it might be if I'm in a position to cut the ball back and there's a forward, in line with the screen, there's a forward on the backside, where now the position I'm shooting the ball from, these guys have to think about where they're putting the parry. Is it wide beyond out for a throw in? Is it back in between me and the guy in the screen to keep it this side? You might have to go high back over the person in the middle. Just putting also them now, I'm asking them to think about when they can't catch and they have to put a ball in an area that's going to be successful for second balls as well.
Yeah, and I mean, and I think that is just so massive, because the thing is that, like, if it's not realistic, then now you're training bad habits, and now you're starting to get goalkeepers that are essentially conceptualizing, moments as opposed to dealing with the reality in front of them. And Suska, that's something that I struggle with in regards to when I'm working with foundational goalkeepers, is that how much of this do I keep scripted? How much of this do I keep unscripted? Because they are still learning the game and learning how to move within the game.
Right. But what you want to do is you play every shot for its like legitimacy. So like what Chris is saying, like, you're not just getting a paw up and knocking it down and say, okay, I made the save. It's like, in reality, where's that ball going? If you can't hold it, where are you pairing it to finish the save finish the task in front of you, then move on to the next one. And what you find with foundational goalkeepers is a lot is they're, like I said, doing the drill. So they're like, oh, I made the save, but you know that you didn't finish the save. You didn't parry it into the right spot. You're just worried about the next shot. And so it's got to be one thing at a time.
I mean, I think that's a really good point right there. I think that what I've noticed is that, and I see this a lot of times at the younger ages, Chris, and I'm sure you've seen this as well too, is people literally yanking goalkeepers into areas as opposed to letting them explore and get scored on. Like, let them get scored on as opposed to just force feed them where to be, because they're never going to learn how to be able to do it on their own that way.
Yeah, I think it's them playing with the comfort levels of where they want to be. You know, you can see in this picture right now that the little deflector is on top of the 6-yard box. You know, you got a couple of mannequins to deal with there, but you know, we talk about the depth, the height. Where do you want to be? Are you more comfortable up close to the deflector? Are you more comfortable 3-4 yards behind it and give yourself a chance to react? You know, there's so many in like a session like this in front of us. There's so many facets to the actual positioning of the goalkeeper, the different angles of the shot. This is just a similar one of what you just saw on the other side, and that's why I put these two together. But now they can see the ball the whole way, so they have a different dynamic now of getting their feet going. They know it's going to hit the deflector. Do they start to go down if they're going to get beat, or they try and keep their feet a little bit longer, knowing it's going to come off there? Are their eyes good enough to see it's going to hit? You know, how high do they come on the shot here on the right-hand side, or their left-hand side, our right-hand side if we're looking at it? You know, if they come too far or too close to the shot taker, are they giving themselves left option for the cutback or the ball back across the box?
And each goalkeeper is going to be different. So
100%.
You know, some keepers are better up closer to the deflector, and maybe that's their reaction, and they're like, you know, cats, and that's great. And others might need a little bit more depth 100%. And give themselves a little bit more time to react. And each keeper it's not black and white. Each keeper's got to find their space.
And that's why I think it's important for us too, as goalkeeper coaches. Then we must train those individuals in that moment. There's no point in me, if Will's more comfortable being close to the deflector and Marco's more comfortable being deeper, there's no point in me trying to train Will like I train Marco.
Right.
But the philosophies are the same. The ideas are the same. You know, the profile of the goalkeeper is similar, obviously. But their ideals and the way we train them is slightly different.
Yeah.
You know, I wanted to bring this up because, like, yesterday I had a session with a young woman, and you know, she said to me, "Oh, I thought I'm supposed to drop back in this moment right here." And this was a cutback scenario, right? This was a cutback scenario, and the ball was cut back inside the box. And she's like, "But I thought I'm supposed to drop back." I'm like, "Well, you have to look at it logically." I'm like, if the ball went negative, if a ball goes negative out, yeah, then you're going to drop deep. So you have to, because you have time to react. But if the ball is coming in closer, you're going to have to come up higher and use those reactionary abilities of yourselves to cover off that dangerous space. So I think a lot of times, Sharpe, one of the problems that we get, at least with the younger ages, is that goalkeepers start trying to do things the same every single time, not recognizing that every picture is different.
Every pitch is different. No two balls, no two scenarios are ever the same. No two defenders are in the same spot. No two attackers are in the same spot. The ball's not hit the same way. The pace of it, it doesn't matter what it is. There's no two scenarios that are the same. But I think, you know, go back to what Saf said earlier, we have to train these moments. Everything's different. And this is, for me, the transition piece is chaotic. It's a chaotic moment. You're out of position. You're scrambling. You've got to get your feet settled. We talk a lot in our sessions about trying to be in the best position, not the perfect position.
Right.
The perfect position doesn't really exist unless you are planted in the right spot at the right moment, exactly the right time. But the best position you can get to get your feet settled, to get yourself balanced, to give yourself the best chance to make the save, you got to be out of position sometimes, 100%. You might be too far left, right, too high, too deep, doesn't matter. But I think for them being those comfortable as they possibly can be in those really chaotic moments and finding the best spots they actually can, and be balanced and be settled and give them the best opportunities. And like you said, everything's different. Everything ebbs and flows in different ways in games and in training sessions.
Yeah, and even with your training session, Mike, like the concept is, okay, maybe I'm supposed to drop deeper here, but does the pace of the ball and does the situation call for that? Like, dropping deep you might be behind the play. Then you might be too late. So by the time you get that depth and try to set, the ball's in the back of the net. So, you know, like Sharpe said, it's better to be kind of set and them trying to get into the proper position, you know.
And I think that's something that I see a lot of times when it comes to young goalkeepers in transition, Sharpe, is that they literally all of a sudden get in their head and they're like, oh, I'm supposed to be over there. And then by then it's too late, type of a thing.
Yeah. And I think, look, it's the pace of the ball. You know, a little girl, you said that if she drops to the line, and even though the ball's gone negative, if that ball's rolled negatively slowly and she can at least close the space rather than dropping off, then brilliant. If she's turns on the same line and is, you know, cuts across her goal on the same line that she started on because that ball's been zipped in quickly, brilliant. You know, there's no right or wrong answer. It's just, like I said, different goalkeepers in different methodologies in different moments. But, you know, the outcome, the effectiveness of the movement and the position they take up has to be of the same nature. It has to be effective.
I love what you just said there in regards to like the pace of the pass too, because Saskia, I didn't even think about that in regards to the coaching points that I made with her yesterday, but that is absolutely so integral. If the ball's played slower, you have more time to come and steal space.
So yeah, if the ball's played slower and you can come out and steal space, and now the only thing that now you've stolen enough space that you've basically the only thing that the player's seeing is you know, then that's great. If you do it from a like black and white standpoint, okay, technically if the ball's out here, then I'm supposed to be deeper, and you take it that way. Well, no, it's the situation. It's how slow is the pass. If the pass zips in, then get in position. If it's slow, come out and steal space. So it's there's so many factors there.
Yeah, and I like it, like even in this activity right here, Sharpe, like you're showcasing kind of the fact that like you might get caught leaning one direction and now you got to improvise and you got to adjust and you got to deal with the moment in front of you, as opposed to like, well, I'm already overcommitted over here. And I think that's just, you know, really realistic, you know, to do it that way. Are you a massive proponent of always having some sort of obstruction or deflection going on in your activities?
It depends on what we're training. I mean, we're trying to train a transition moment here where we're trying to play. The idealistic is you're playing out from the back. If the ball turns over, then what? You know, and obviously we're looking at feet as deflections and legs and arms and bodies and whatever else. And, you know, this is a goal kick scenario where we played out from the back. You might have played the 6 or a high centre back, for example. But a lot of the times we play out, the centre backs come very narrow very quickly and they end up right in front of you. And the ball turns over and touching a back and bang or shot quickly, you know, and you've got to deal with something that's so close to you. Again, getting your feet moving, getting balance. If it goes the opposite direction, pushing off the opposite foot. Trying to steer bodies in directions that balls can be maneuvered, like you just see there from Adam. He's just turned his left shoulder, it's hit the middle of the chest. But again, thinking about what they're doing with the ball on the second shot as well. So the area is obviously the player who's played the ball in, which is the kit man here, is now in an area for the second ball, or the third ball in this case, to make sure the goalkeepers are putting parries into good areas or holding onto things or just creating chaos. I think there's one here coming up here with Marco where there's like 3 shots back to back to back to back. You can see there from a little reaction off the deflection, you know, nice and tight, and then he has to react again.
And the key is, like you said, Chris, is get in your shape, you know, and everything. Like I think of Earp's save against Spain, that deflection that ended up going near post, and she maintained her shape and got the kick save on it, and the ball was going far post, you know, and it was just that quick little redirection, but because she still maintained her shape, she was able to get her foot to it. It was a huge save. I mean, they lost, but it was a huge save. But that's exactly this scenario. So keep your shape. I guarantee
she's trained it too, Sus. I guarantee she's trained it over and over and over again for that particular moment.
Because a lot of goalkeepers that would have gone, right? So they would have gone, and their body weight and everything like that would have gone far post, and that little deflection would have gone in near post. Instead, 100%. She was able to maintain her positioning, her stance. Boom, great save. It was a great save.
Fantastic. Yeah.
You know, Sharpe, one thing I'm just thinking about right here is obviously, you know, we're talking about the transition in these tight spaces and playing that ball out. I think a lot of the times one of the biggest problems that we have, and something that I've tried to work on with goalkeepers over the years, is just the comfortability of spatial awareness and how being able to transition from a support position high on the field to being able to defend the goal while still in a high area. because I think that's I think a massive problem is I think a lot of goalkeepers immediately, especially at the foundational ages, we lose possession and they just bolt to the goal. They just bolt to the goal.
Fundamentally, the two drills, this one and the other one, are based off goal kicks. So they're going to find themselves deeper in these scenarios naturally just because of the phase of play. Obviously, I have a ball being played into them rather than playing the ball out. And again, it's just for working on their feet. And you can see here, I've put down the bottom here, this is a training tidy. I think Adam goes down too early. I think he can see it's going to hit the mannequin on the last one and he goes too early. But, I think for me, I'm training in these ones, I'm training the moments where we turn over goal kicks. We do a lot where we work higher, start on the penalty spot, and we do transition from, 30 or 40 yards out. But you can see here, look, Adam drops in to support, takes his, and he could probably still stay up a little bit longer, and maybe that left hand becomes more effective for him, rather than goes down. You can see him here. Look at his left leg as he starts to go. It comes out from his body here. He's got good depth for me. He's nice and settled when I strike the ball. But he can see here, he's never really shifted to his right. He's just kind of taken off from the same spot he was in. I think if he stays up a little bit longer, the left hand becomes more effective. But again, it's going back to what Sar said about he next time he sees this, he's going to want to get his feet going. He's training these moments.
What's amazing is how I wonder how many coaches out there and stuff actually train this. Like how many of you actually turning the ball over off a goal kick? Because how many times do we see it happen? And you're right, Mike, like all of a sudden it happens and you see that pause from a goalkeeper, they're out of position and the ball's in the back of the net, as opposed to you have to train, okay, I've turned the ball over. What's my first reaction? What am I doing? Get my shape, get my positioning and everything like that, and then deal with it, where we see that kind of deer in the headlights for a split second, and that's all it takes.
And look, our philosophy as a club that we our head coach, we want to build out from the back. It's creating opportunities from building out. So if I don't train this,
yeah, exactly.
I'm not doing my job.
I mean, I think that's a great point. Kind of before we move on to some of the game clips and everything like that, I want to talk about what you were just talking about, Susk, with the goal kicks and Sharpe, talking about like we don't train this enough type of thing. I've seen a lot of the times, especially with goalkeepers at the younger ages, and we talk about being able to transition, into the defending the goal. They'll play the ball and they just expect the player to be successful with the possession. And then when they are not successful, they're a step behind because they're already in their mind thinking, okay, I'm a supporting player right now. Wait, we lost the ball. Wait, what happened now?
Right. That's the deer in the headlights. It's, if number one, you should be there for support again, in case that player, needs to pass it back to you, or there's that missed touch. So you have to have that mentality. You can't take a breath.
No, and I think that's a really good point right there, Suskin. I think it's one of those things about like teaching goalkeepers, especially young goalkeepers, to stay in the moment at all times, because anything can happen at any moment, right, Sharpe?
Yeah, and it can 100%. And I think too that it's not just giving the ball to someone and hoping they can get out of the situation that you're giving the ball to. It's for me, the philosophy is when I give you the centre back the ball, I'm seeing why I'm giving you the ball. I know where I want you to go with the ball. I'm giving you the option to come back to me, or I know that I want you to go left back, right back, into the 6, into the 8, down the line of the 9, whatever it looks like. But I've seen the numbers up scenario. I'm trying to get you into a numbers up scenario. I'm trying to make your life as easy as possible for the next pass that you're going to make, or whether it's giving it to you to get back to me so I can go somewhere else with the ball, not just giving you the ball and going, my job's done. Thanks very much.
Right.
Yeah. And which I think a lot of goalkeepers do, or they just kind of like, get mad. Like I've seen that a lot of times too. Like Suska's like, they just get like, well, it's your fault. You lost the ball, blah, 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 as opposed to just dealing with the moment type of thing. I just see that so much. And I think it's just a lot of young goalkeepers just kind of emulate what they see on TV without understanding the why or the context of why a goalkeeper.
I think you also have a lot of young goalkeepers that just get frazzled and don't want the ball at their feet. And they're like, the faster I can get it out from under my feet and put the responsibility onto somebody else, great. But, that might not be the right pass. That person might have a bad first touch and everything like that. So, you've got to be confident on the ball and know this isn't like a one pass scenario. Like Chris said, it's all right, I'm passing it to so-and-so because so-and-so is going to be open here and that'll get us up and, change the point. You have to see 3 steps ahead.
And I think, one of the really important things when we're talking about this transition, a lot of young goalkeepers, and Sharpe, I'm sure you probably agree with me on this, when they're looking at a topic like this, they're only looking at actions where it ended up having to be a save by the goalkeeper, as opposed to preventative movements. And you go like, this is a great play for you to watch. The shot was off frame, or it was mishit, or whatever type of a thing. But look at all the actions that the goalkeeper did here to allow them to be in a position where they were still successful.
100%. I think too, look, some of the stuff that people miss when they look at the goalkeeper is, the forward hit the ball over the crossbar, or the forward hit the ball wide, or we didn't have to make the save or the action. But the spot we're in made him go, or her go, a little bit wider, made them strike it a little bit harder, which puts them higher, or the ball gets played through between, and this is the one I see all the time. The ball gets played between centre back and outside back, and the goalkeeper comes out on the angle, and the forward can go shot, a 1v1, or a cross cutback. And the goalkeeper goes flying out, and the decision's made for him. The player just lays it across the box and tap in. But the goalkeeper doesn't go flying out, gets to a spot, holds their ground a little bit, and now makes the forward think, which may make the defender come a little bit closer to the forward. They're not sure whether they lay the ball off, because we still have the option of closing the cutback down. They're not sure whether to take a touch and take it on at 1v1. By that time, the defender helps us, or they shoot it first time, which we're in a great spot. So really, we've got 3 of the 3 options covered, rather than flying out and offering them or making their mind up quickly. And I think, to the naked eye, that goes missed quite a bit, where the goalkeepers made such a lovely choice to hold their ground, or go to close the space and stop, or they take a touch and on the first touch they go as hard as they can and close the space down, and they take a second bad touch and it goes out for a goal kick, and they're like, the striker should have done better there. There's so many moments like that. I think that we as goalkeepers have done such a good job in that moment that it's not really alluded to. It's poor forward play.
Yeah, it's bad on the forward.
100%.
Yeah, we've talked about that so many times, Mike, is that don't make the decision easy for the forward. Don't give them the answer, and even when we always refer back to when Michelle Akers was on the show, and she said that she would hate it when a goalkeeper would stand her up, in a sense, like come out, because they have to make a second choice as well. They know your defense is bearing down on them. They only have a split second to make that choice. Am I going to shoot it? Am I going to dribble the goalkeeper? Am I going to slot the ball, or what's going to happen? So don't answer the question for them. Like, force them to have to make that. And if you make them hiccup and go like that, then you've got them, because either your defense is going to catch up, they're going to shoot the ball into you, they're going to put it wide or anything. And that is, and I call that, when I see that in games, I'm like, that is a save. That was forced by the goalkeeper. They held their ground. They stood the player up, and that's the poor decision is because of what the goalkeeper did.
Yeah, I think that's such a great point. So Sharpe, I want to get to these clips right here. First off, we're going to look at some of these things from the League's Cup. Obviously, this is you guys against Toluca. These are teams you don't play often, because they're in a different league than you. Does that change your scouting? Does that change your tactics and everything, because you don't know these teams as well?
I don't think it changes our scouting. We obviously have a job to scout these teams, to the best degree. Obviously, they played Nashville 3 days before we played them. We played Nashville first. We watched 5 games. Myself and the other coaching staff, we watched 5 games previously in their Liga MX games. We even went back to last year to watch the last 2 games against Club America at these guys. So we had a really good idea about how they wanted to play, who the danger players were. Obviously, it's a fit group of players. Toluca are. They play at a very high altitude, higher than what we do here in Colorado. So we knew we were in for they were going to come hard at us. They were going to press us. They had to win the game as we did. So we kind of had an idea really of what we were going to see from them.
Higher than Colorado is, I think, something you'll never, ever see again.
Like Colorado Springs high.
Yeah, like high. Like
high.
Yeah, high. Yeah, so there was one.
Mexico City high.
Yeah, there was one guy on their team. I think it was Rodriguez, number 7 or 11 or whoever it was. His ability to run at pace for the whole 95 minutes was outrageous. Like, it was breathtaking on the sideline to watch him.
All right, so let's go into this here. So Yarbrough's got the ball. This is in the 21st minute against Toluca. He plays the ball out. It's a simple bowl out. It's a lost possession down the middle. Yarbrough drops back for depth, and this is one of those things where it's like he's patient, but he's reactive at the same time, Sharpe. He's not like, like just kind of lollygagging back type of a thing. The ball's kind of swung around after some dribbling by Juan Dominguez, and then a shot from distance wide by Robert Morales. That's a save. That's a save in my opinion, because he did everything to put himself in a successful place so that the shot goes wide.
Yeah, look, Will and I watched this a lot. Look, context of the game, I have to throw it in there. We needed to win 2-0 or by 2 goals. As you said, 21st minute, where it's 0-0 at this point. Will sees Danny has if you can see it from this spot, there's a lot of space on the left side facing Danny, and Will can see if Danny just turns out of this, we could be. What you can't see is the 3 guys for us that are high. Will gets it, trying to force the issue, trying to force the play a little bit, sees that Danny could turn out. Danny takes a touch back underneath the pressure. If you let the ball run, he probably goes through the gap. But now, if you can see, you can see Will's obviously everything we just worked on. Will's now backtracking to try and find a little bit of depth in there. There's probably not a real concern here for a slotted ball through because there's no one in the line to go through. So he's thinking shot, deflection, depth was his first thought right now. But also, something we train on.
Also lucky he didn't shoot right when the turnover happened.
But that's the part that we work on too, is that those loss of between the 6-yard and the penalty spot, stopping, getting your feet right, and making sure you're giving yourself the best chance.
Yeah.
I mean, these are some very good players, man. I was watching like Juan Dominguez, Robert Morales. These guys are
unbelievable
quality players.
Yeah.
So you're going to understand that. You're going to understand that this guy can dribble under pressure like that, and that because of that, that's going to anything can happen in those moments type of thing.
Yeah.
Obviously, like you were talking about in regards to like preventing those kind of dangerous slotted, through balls and those sorts of things is so important, Saskia, in these types of moments, because if you allow any sort of space when you lose the ball in transition, that's in the back of the net.
Yeah, but you also don't want to bite, so defensively, what you want to do is just have that distance and that space. So number one, he can't shoot from distance on the quick turnover. And number two, but the defensive line is where it should be. And there is no option for a slotted ball there. There isn't. And if there is, then you're on it, because the space in between the 6 and kind of where that slotted ball would come, then you can come for that through ball. So you have to be expecting that as well. So even though you're not, like, they might try it, even though nobody's on it, but multiple things going through your head. I got to protect my goal, number one. If there's a slotted ball, I have to be ready on the jump to come get it. But, it's just good positioning.
Todd Hofford just says, my man Sharpe, hello, everyone, exclamation point.
Hey, buddy.
So, what's up, Hofford?
Hey,
Todd, you owe us an email. Just saying. All right, let's move on to this next play right here, because this is a very different type of a play. And this is, I think, this is late in the game, right? Right, Sharpe? It's like 92nd minute. The ball's kind of played out wide on immediate chase to Rosenberry. The first thing I notice right here, Sharpe, is that there's 2 guys right there. There's two guys on chase right there on Rosenberry. So he's in a difficult position right here. He ends up playing that ball out around like the 30. Is that Sam Nicholson that has that ball? He tries to kind of pass it, kind of lost, and then it's Dominguez again who plays that ball out to, is it Jesus Angelo? Another ball in right here. But we're noticing like Yarbrough's doing everything he can in this moment. He's involved in the actions. He's not overthinking the fact that like when this ball was played kind of wide, starting right here, this guy's now stuck. What do I do here? Instead, he's completely involved in the action the whole way.
But he's not stuck. That's just a horrible pass.
I completely disagree with what you said there, Mike.
Absolutely. He is not stuck.
Go back to the start of it. Because
he's
not stuck.
It's a bad flick on.
This ball to me, the pace of this pass is brilliant right there. Because it allows Keegan to get his body facing forward now. And now the ball that Keegan is playing to Sammy Nick, if Sammy Nick lays this ball off nicely to Moy Bombito,
then
we are off to the races.
Absolutely. Look at that space he has. If he plays that right,
look at the play on the far side of the field.
Why is he flicking that? That's his mistake. I think they beat the first line. They beat the press. This is a bad pass right here. If he passes that into his feet, then they're out that side.
Yeah.
Okay.
Look at the other side. Look at the far sideline. And this is something we trying to get across the field. If Sammy Nick just nicely lays that ball off into Moyes' path, we're out. And for me, it's a wonderful choice from Will, because the pace the pass from Will allowed Keegan to get his body right and face forward. I think the choice from Keegan is very good, in my opinion, because he's given Sam enough opportunity to play it first time.
Yeah.
And then I think if it's in Moyes' path, we're off the races.
Yeah, I agree.
Now that I see it again, I see that space that was
Look at
open
all
right
that
there.
space, but it's this next pass that screws everybody.
So Sharpe, if let's just say those two Toluca players were a little bit further towards the near post right there, then it would be more of a problematic pass, right?
Yeah, if Keegan's body shape can get facing forward and this pass is still on, it doesn't matter how close the player is. Obviously, if he's all the way on top of Keegan, then obviously that's not the right choice. But I think he's done it in a way where he's allowed, if he'd smacked the pass into Keegs and Keegs had to take the touch and then turn his body,
right,
I think it would have been in trouble. But the pass still allowed Keegan to get his body right before the ball got to him, which, I mean, for me, the ball from Keegan to Sammy Nick is brilliant because it allows him to lay it off first time.
Yeah, I agree.
If this goes into Moyes and then Moy breaks the second line, we are gone at this point.
Agreed.
Okay. This is we learn every time. This is why no, honestly, this is great. This is great for me because I think, one of the things, especially for me, is I work primarily with younger goalkeepers. So the things that I'm working on might be, let's just say, a little bit more foundational. So it's
right. But what you don't want is for somebody to turn around and say, "Oh, you shouldn't have passed that initial pass there." That's not true. That pass was brilliant. It's great.
Yeah.
It's the pass by, the secondary player that messes everything up, and he's got to do better on the ball, and they're out.
Got it. So Sharpe, now the ball's lost here after that ball that Sam Nick played. Now what's Yarbo's decision? What's he supposed to do?
Well, he just got to obviously assess what's in front of him. Obviously he's got Keegan still off the picture here, but now if he frees it right there, you can see how he's a little bit higher now because obviously there's no immediate threat of a through ball, but he has to be thinking about the two guys that are coming left and right side of the player who's on the ball. I think it's Pedro right now that has the ball at his feet, can go either side. And he's got to be in a position where he's got a clear line of sight down the ball. It's not as though that any of our centre backs are in between the ball, the line of sight, and him. So now he's got a clear line of sight straight down the line of the ball where he can afford to be a little bit higher, close the angle a little bit more, as you can see from here. But the player chooses to go back outside him.
No. So, and then the ball's played here. It's a track position here. Now the chase is on right there. So is there a slight deflection right there? Is that what happens?
Comes off the back of his heel, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
But again, for me, if you go just click it back a little bit, Mike, it just becomes a little bit of defending. I think Will's in a really good spot to take the shot here. Like he's in a great space. He's nice and balanced as the guy plants his right foot before he strikes it. You can see the defenders covering his left side, the back post. So Will's job is the 4-yard goal on the near side to make sure that he doesn't get beaten there. And hopefully the defender blocks the back side of the goal for him. I think we can be a little bit tighter inside too, marking up in the box there. But obviously then Wills just, tracks the ball across and it's a good finish, far post. But he has time to take a touch, which is obviously not what you want in the box either.
No, but Will did everything he could in that moment.
Yes.
And I think probably Susk would probably agree with that. Is there anything else you see, Susk, here before we move on? Oh, you're on mute.
No, I think his positioning's great here. The far post is covered. Defenders have to be tighter. There's no reason anybody gets 2 touches on this ball in the box. Right. And then because the positioning was good, it's not too big of a movement. I didn't see the finale of that, but no. So there's nothing on him, and there's nothing on Will.
Yeah,
I'd be pissed at my defense.
Sharpe, how you doing on time? Because I know you got a flight.
Yeah, good, mate. No, that's tomorrow. I've got a meeting at 2:30, mate. So I'm flying. So it's all good.
Okay, gotcha. All right, so let's move on right here. This is against Nashville. Was this game after the Toluca game, or was this before the Toluca game?
Before the Toluca game, yeah.
Before the Toluca game. Okay.
Yeah.
So 63rd minute, it's a ball out to Danny Wilson. It's kind of played up to midfield. It's kind of lost right here, it looks like. Yeah, right there. And now it's a quick counter, right? It's Shaq Moore to Randall Leal, and then end line to Mukhtar, I think, eventually, right? Yeah. Right here. So let's just take it back from the pass back here. So Yep. I'm not going to say anything because I don't know apparently how to play possession out of the back. So let's just start with that play. Where is it? Is it right here? Oh, okay. So right here. Okay. So what's going on first? Whoop.
Yeah, I think again it's the same thing. He's got the centre back facing forward. To be fair, and you look at this in the big picture from above, the ball from the centre back is absolutely superb. I think the forward just has to do a bit more for us, if I'm being honest with you.
Okay.
But this ball from Danny is a very, very good pass. It goes back behind the 10 or the 8 in this case. It undercuts him, and I think the forward just has to do a little bit more to hold up and be a bit stronger in this moment.
Yeah. Suska, anything you want to add here? You're on mute.
I'm watching.
Okay.
Let's see. I mean, I think that's a tough pass. I think that again, you're picking things that aren't on the keeper in a sense. Like this isn't a ball that was forced into a bad spot by Danny or anything like that. This was given so your defender's faced up, and the next pass isn't the best pass. You know, you could have gone shorter into the middle to your 6. Go on, Nick, Joyce. You know, to try to bypass that line with 4 yellows around you, I think is a tough pass, and you get the turnover for it. So again, it's a good pass. It's a good initial pass. You're faced up and you see the entire field in front of you. You can't control what everybody does with the ball.
No.
You know, but
no,
he's not giving a pass into a bad situation. He didn't force his outside back into a bad situation. It was a bad pass again.
No, Susk, you just brought up a really good point in regards to that there. It's like most transitions into defending the goal are not going to be because you made a quote-unquote mistake. It's going to be because there was some sort of loss of possession based on the actions that were taking place on the field in front of you. Sharpe, one of the things I hate about television broadcasts is you literally can't see the development of transitions because they focus on the ball, not on the goalkeeper.
Yep.
Where you were there. So what happened to Will? Where's Will now?
I think probably penalty spot-ish, give or take. Obviously you can see he comes in the screen just here after this pass is played.
Boom, right here.
Yep. Okay. So I think for now he's in a good spot. Obviously, if the ball goes wide, I think it's into Leao. He's in a good spot to look at the cross that goes across the box. Or, you know, if it's digged in over the top, you can see he just holds his space centrally a little bit higher. Yep, just keep going. And or freeze it right there. He's in a spot to obviously take the cross, and or if the ball's played a little bit further away from Hani Mukhtar towards him, he can come and close the space down. You know, and then we get into these spaces in here, we talk about it, and we work all the time. The cutbacks, you've got to protect that small 4-yard goal from post and 4 yards out from here, you know, as he turns in and squares up. You can see he takes a nice big area, chunk of the area here.
I see it right there. I see it right there. Now, question for you right there. Is this too close to the near post, or are you comfortable with this right here?
I think we had this discussion. Look who's on the ball. This is a guy here that has absolutely smashed balls high near post for the last 3 years and scored from these angles. So Will right now, if this is Shaq Moore, if this is Dax McCarty, maybe even Leao in these moments, it's probably a little bit different. But because this player has and in our scouting and in watching the clips of Hani Mukhtar before we play, if you give him a little bit, he will take a lot. And I think that's when we did our review on this, and I asked Will, do I think you, in my eye, do I think you're a little bit too near? I do. I think he could probably be another half a yard maybe to his right. But I'm asking these guys to give me answers as to why, if I'm putting in these situations. And he said to me, look who's on the ball, Sharpie. If I give him a half a yard, there is a likelihood that he is going to smash this high over my left shoulder. You know, so
yeah, and also look at the positioning of your defender that's coming towards him. So that's in the flow. So he kind of, if he slots that ball, there's a very narrow space right there.
Yeah,
so as well.
Yeah, you're talking about the defender taking away the right side of Will.
Well, you have the defender. The defender goal side at the top of the 6, but you also have the near defender that's taken away the slotted ball.
Yeah.
So there is only that space.
100%. And in this moment, his only thought was, we watched a lot of video about where our defender is close to Hani Mukhtar, absolutely rifle the ball high near post. And that was the number one thing that he had in his head at this moment.
Nice.
Yeah. And then, I mean, this is a tough situation. Again, a ball is cut back like that, and it's slotted into such a tight area like that. There's just literally only so much you can do in that situation right there. I want to move away because of time right now. You kind of shared kind of some final actions right here type of thing. So now these are kind of like encounter situations.
The transition moments high up the field. You can see we've just turned the ball over, and now it's into goal. And here's a situation I think I talked about earlier. When he's got the ball wide in that wide area, and the clip before here, if you just go back a little bit further, Mikey, he's
right here.
Yep, right here.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. There's really, he can start coming towards the player here, and obviously give him an option. Which I see a lot of the young kids do at this moment. When that touch is taken towards the goalkeeper just comes, and the player just goes, yep, across and a tap in. Yeah. You see by Will's position here, it gives our defenders a chance to defend.
Yep.
And then it allows Will to have options, option 1, option 2, option 3.
Right. And we always say that, Mike, is if you give some depth here and you don't come, it allows your defenders to recover, which is what you want. If you come, you're answering the question for the forward. You're making it easy.
That's a great point, because there's so much ground to cover right there.
Yeah. If he takes a super long touch directly at you, well, now you have time to steal ground as well.
Yeah. And then great movement across, nice and big out.
And this, I will say, we said don't just go, but this, in a sense, this is the time you do. Because and I'll say, young goalkeepers out here, look at when he's traveling to the space. Okay, a lot of goalkeepers make the mistake that they are slow on this. They wait till the ball arrives before they move. And we see that with young goalkeepers. And now you're behind it. The ball's getting passed into the back of the net. He's stealing his space while the ball's in no man's land. And we tell goalkeepers that all the time. That's when you steal your space. Nobody's going to hit it, nothing. Get across. And now he's right. When the ball arrives for the shot, he's right on that player's foot.
Yeah. With no time for that guy to react. No time for that guy.
Yep.
Yeah. Boom. I mean, these are great. Here's another immediate chase. So it's like you're talking about, it's like that second ball right here. So shots hit, cover that ground.
Balance to get up. He did. A lot of young kids will go all the way to the ground here, go all the way down on this side. And Will just has the presence of mind to stick his leg and his hand in the ground to go, okay, I've got to get back up on my feet. It doesn't have to be pretty, but it's effective.
Yeah. I also like when he got back up on his feet there, he took another step forward.
Yep.
He took he had that split second to say, let me steal a little more space, make myself big. And that attributed to that save.
This clip here to me this is earlier on in the year, but this was a transition moment. We turned the ball over. We had possession of the ball. We turned the ball over here. Will, in the big picture, Will is quite high here because he's looking for this. But this guy, Brian White, takes a touch and hits it quickly. And Will gets caught moving. And his presence, and he's now to stick his hand up in this moment, but he just had enough balance to hold his feet long enough to allow his arms and his upper body to work a little bit for him.
Yeah, I noticed that right there. I'll be honest with you. I've been caught in this situation before, and I've gone I've been too low.
Yeah. Well, it's also the quality of a striker, and if you know who you're up against, and they have that quick release, you have to be ready for that. And we see some strikers in the NWSL now be like, the one thing that's so great about certain people is, like, if you say a Smith or something like that, is it's that quick release. So it's a touch and a shot, and so you'll catch your goalkeepers moving, but he has the presence of mind to kind of get himself at least so he can get a hand to it.
And these are all just moments. I mean, the one before against Orlando and the shot Pereira hit against Marco, we were in possession. We built out, we were in possession. Darren was in the ball, loses it. Touch, smack from 25 yards going in top corner. It's an absolute hell of a save. But these, again, we're in possession here. This is against Sacramento, I think, in the cup. In possession, transition. Yep. Great spot to stay.
Good position.
Yeah. I mean, these are awesome moments, man. I mean, Sharpe, I really appreciate you putting all those clips together for us. That was really, really awesome of you. Kind of as we're kind of wrapping up everything, Sharpe, do you have any advice for any young goalkeepers who are always caught out in transition? Like, what can they do to start putting themselves in a better place?
I don't know if it's about putting themselves in a better place. I think it's about being more comfortable in those uncomfortable positions. We're always goalkeepers are always going to get caught out of position. It's the way the game is evolving right now. It's not as black and white, like Sar said before. Long ball, squeeze up, in position. Different coaches want different things. There's going to be pragmatic times when you're away from home and you want to go long. Great. But there's going to be times when you want, especially at the young ages, I would prefer that we're trying to let these kids be or make decisions in the moments that they need to make decisions with the ball at their feet. But the best and the biggest way for us as young coaches and the young goalkeepers is to train these moments. There has to be game scenarioed moments in training every day. It can't just be one day a week. Every time you've got your young kids, every time the young kids are in, there has to be these, and it doesn't have to be in transition, but these game scenarios where you are pulling goalkeepers into positions that they do not want to be in, and you're forcing them to be comfortable or training them to be comfortable in the chaotic, uncomfortable moments. And the more they get comfortable with these positions and the more they see them and the more they balanced and the more they're, feeling depth and height and left and right and east, north, south, east, west movements behind the players in front of them, they're going to be way more comfortable in these chaotic moments.
I just love what you said right there. I mean, that's so, again, I love it when I learn during the show. I mean, I always learn, but like I sometimes have moments I'm like, man, I wish I'd thought of that. I never thought about that before. If only I'd thought of that before I had my session yesterday or anything like that. Suska, anything you want to add to that?
No, I agree. We talked about it so much. You have to train the chaos. It's not all pretty. It's not, you get the pass through ball goal, but 90% of goals come from chaos, deflections, turnovers. And you have to train those scenarios. You have to.
Yeah. To be effective, you just got to be effective. Effective goalkeeping. It doesn't have to be pretty. It doesn't have to be, it has to be purposeful and it has to be effective.
Keep it out of the net.
Yep.
And speaking of being effective, if you want to learn from people like Chris Sharpe, we have a little bit of an announcement to make. We're starting to get everything nice and ready for the official launch of the Union platform, our premium subscription service. If you guys are not on the free service right now, this show is only going to be available on the Union starting very, very soon. So if you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, anything like that, please make sure that you sign up right now. It's completely free to join our engagement forum, but we're also going to have a premium subscription service where you're going to be able to be mentored for people such as Sharpe. And Sharpe, we're absolutely humbled and honored that you're going to be involved in this process with us. We're really, really excited. I know there's so much that you can give back. I know during the pandemic, you did some breakdown sessions with Omar at Pro GK Academy that were absolutely fantastic. So we're just really, really humbled and honored that you'd be willing to come on board with us. So,
mate, I'm so happy that you guys are doing this. Like, this is brilliant. I said to you yesterday when we were texting, but I mean, we need more of this, and I think for me and for us, people who are in the thick of it every day, we're always learning as well. Absolutely. There's nothing I can't go out and watch my academy coaches or, they have ideas. They have things that we don't think of in training sessions. And some of these young goalkeeper coaches that I have around me, the way they can connect with the young kids is pretty frightening. And I think for me, it's a different generation of humans these days, as we all know. And I think for what you guys are doing as a goalkeeper union and trying to give more young coaches more time in front of opportunities to learn and craft and hone their own skills and then put it on the field, I think it's only going to benefit goalkeepers in this country.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things too, that we talk about is that I think not everyone has access to you, Sharpe. Not everybody lives in Colorado, right by the Rapids facility. And, some people might be in rural Iowa, working in a rec program and, or a parent, who's got a young goalkeeper, playing in an area that doesn't have a professional academy nearby them. So to be able to have access to somebody like yourself, I think is just going to open so many doors for people and not only just improve the level of goalkeeping in this country and the world. Because we just see it that so many people, they only know what they know because of what they're exposed to.
100%. I think the more, I think the more, even my colleagues, Phil Weddens, Paulie Rogers, the Drew Keyshaws, Aaron Hydes, all these guys that continually help in the educational space, I think is massive, and all, like Dan Ball and all the guys on the girls' side too, I think are fantastic. that I've actually made some really good connections with, to be fair, because there's some, a couple of Aussie guys over there on the other side as well that are doing it. So I think it's fantastic, to be fair. And I think the more we can kind of collectively put this information together for everybody, I think even for us, Sas and myself, we're learning, which is great. So
yeah. Well, Sus has to start wrapping up here right now. She's got to go and keep learning and preparing for the matches this weekend. But if you want to reach out to Saskia, obviously it's at Saskia on the Union platform. If you want a guest suggestion or topic suggestion for us, go to contact@inside18media.com or at Goalkeeper Podcast on the Union. Sharpe's going to be getting involved on the Union right now, but I think he has a profile on the platform right now that's just being built. But I think your handle is at c.sharpe. Is that right?
I think so. Yes. Yep.
Yeah. At c.sharpe. So guys, that's all the time on Inside the 18, and we are out.
Bye guys.
See you guys.
Bye.
Bye.